Hi, hello and welcome to a new video here from Faceless Guy. I want to react to this video. German FM Baerbock, Israel Foreign Minister Baerbock. Israel has a duty to protect the Palestinian civilians. I've not seen it, but I'm critical because I know for a fact that Germany has not done very much to protect Palestinian civilians in the last few months since genocide and the horrific attacks on Gaza attacks started on October 7th after the terror attack from Palestinian militant groups on Israel, also on the October 7th. So since then, I don't think that Germany has done very much to support Palestine, and they have armed Israel and delivered weapons so Israel can continue to commit its genocide in Gaza. So I'm curious what Baerbock has to say about all of this, if she will mention any of this or not. Let's see.
Turning now to the war in Gaza, where a team.
DW News, Deutsche Welle News is like something like the BBC for Great Britain from Germany.
From the World Health Organization has visited the Al-Aqsa hospital, and described chaotic scenes. WHO staff said that they were delivering supplies to the hospital and witnessed large numbers of wounded people being brought in for urgent treatment after an explosion. WHO staff filmed from inside the hospital, which they said was in dire need of medical supplies. The hospital, described as Gaza's most important, is also dealing with critical staff shortages.
This video is from 9 days ago, so take this into account if you watch this. It's right now, the 18th of January. So 9 days ago, it was the 9th of January. So just so you know.
The organization is planning to facilitate the deployment of emergency medical teams to help support.
Okay, the recording starts from the January 7th, Gaza 2024. Source, World Health Organization.
For overworked doctors and nurses. The WHO's coordinator said that evacuation orders and fierce fighting had forced most medical staff to leave. He urged protection of the hospital.
This hospital is currently operating with about 30% of the staff.
And as I heard, this may be also outdated if you watch this, but I think most of the hospitals in Gaza are now nearly completely not able to function at all. I think there's a few left, a few in this house, and I'm not sure if Al-Aqsa, sorry, also for the pronunciation, is still able to operate.
That it had just a few days ago. They are seeing, in some cases, hundreds of casualties every day in a small emergency department. Yesterday they said they had one doctor working overnight in this emergency department, and it's really a chaotic scene. The hospital director just spoke to us, and he said his one request is that this hospital be protected.
All hospitals are protected under international law, but yeah, what does this really matter, international law, if no one cares about it? Especially, of course, Israel, because Israel is here the most powerful party. The terror attacks on October 7th were terrible and awful, but the reaction from Israel is far worse. Also in the numbers of people who are killed, civilians, and probably also Hamas soldiers, but I don't really care about them, as I don't care so much about the Israeli soldier who may have been killed, but civilians, much more civilians were murdered, killed by the IDF bombing. Then innocent civilians were slaughtered, killed, murdered from Palestinian militant groups like Hamas or other groups on October 7th. So, also I think even when you consider only the numbers or the I mean, what the Israeli army says, like how many terrorists they have killed and how many civilians. They claim themselves to have killed 65% civilians and 35% Hamas fighters. The numbers from the United Nations are much more terrible. Like 90% civilians, 95%. I have seen numbers like this, but even according to their own numbers, Hamas has killed, I think, and I'm not mistaken, 55% soldiers and 45% civilians. And I'm not mistaken. These are my numbers I have seen. They may have been different, but or changed at the end still. They also updated, I think, the number from 2,400 to 1,400 to 1,200 people who have been killed in October 7th by Palestinian militant groups, and the number on the Palestinian side now is continuously rising, of course. I think at the moment around 23,000 and 31,000 if you consider people who are buried under the rubble to be dead by now. But time will prove how many Palestinians at the end will have been killed, murdered. I think murdered is a more accurate way to describe this.
Even though many of his staff have left.
So that's the message from the WHO.
I'm now very curious about the words from Baerbock, my foreign minister.
The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is due in Israel for talks on the war in Gaza as fears grow that the conflict could widen across the region. Speaking in Qatar, Blinken said that it was imperative to protect civilians in Gaza. Israel is battling Hamas, which classified as a terrorist organization by the U.S., Germany, and many other countries.
Antony Blinken on a diplomatic drive to prevent the spread of the Israel-Hamas war. After meetings in Qatar, the US Secretary of State warned on Sunday the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza could metastasize and threaten security in the wider Middle East. In Doha, Blinken laid out his goals, and he had praise for his hosts.
In all of my meetings over the last 2 days, we've discussed ongoing efforts to better protect civilians in Gaza and to get more humanitarian assistance to them.
I believe that Antony Blinken is at least trying something. I think he could have done much more, of course, but maybe he's really trying. Who knows?
Get the remaining hostages.
I mean, who knows how terrible things may have been different if they have not tried until it's something. Lip services, I think mostly, but maybe also they have done something and prevented even bigger catastrophe. I mean, I think the United States, Qatar, and also I think Egypt maybe or other countries as well have brought forward some of the deals which already took place between Israel and Hamas to release hostages and on both sides hostages. So there was some success from the United States part, even if they could have done much more. I think a phone call from Biden could have ended this conflict.
Hostages out and home with their loved ones. Qatar was instrumental in the negotiations that led to the simultaneous release of more than 100 hostages, including American citizens, and a pause in the fighting that, during that time, enabled us to double the flow of humanitarian aid to civilians in Gaza.
Context, as far as I know, before October 7th, there were around 500 to 600 trucks each day entering Gaza to meet the humanitarian need of the people, even before the so-called war or maybe even genocide started. Right now, there are maybe an average 30, 40, 50 trucks each day entering. In good times, in the first 27 days or 26 days or 20 days, I'm not exactly sure, there were no trucks at all. Before the October 7th terror attack, 500 to 600 each day. So maybe you understand with these numbers why there is a humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza right now, and why 4 or 5 hungry people in the world come out of Gaza. So 80%, roughly 80% of all the most hungry people in the world and most affected people from famine in the world live right now in Gaza. So just what else maybe your tax money has done or supported. If you live in a Western country whose government is consistently and unconditionally support Israel. So you know what you are paying for if you pay taxes.
For these displaced Palestinians caught in the crossfire of this conflict in Gaza, help can't come soon enough. And the US Secretary of State made his position on their status clear.
Palestinian civilians must be able to return home as soon as conditions allow.
And it's funny, I mean, of course, also Germany claims to support the two-state solution, and also the UK and France and also the US. They all support this, they all publicly claim this. I think it's more lip service, but it's still something they always claim and also vote for in the General Assembly. I think there's every year resolution coming forward to resolve the Palestinian issue. Each year the Palestinian state, or I think each year the Palestinian state brings forward a resolution to try to settle the Israel-Palestine conflict on the on humanitarian law in a peaceful way, and each year it is accepted, but the General Assembly has no real power, sadly. I wish it would have. A democratic international organ, and it would be awesome if the General Assembly would have really have the power to enforce its will.
They cannot, they must not be pressed to leave Gaza.
But at the funeral of 2 Palestinian journalists killed in an apparent Israeli airstrike in the south of the Gaza Strip, the prospect of peace seems far away.
I look forward for Ms. Baerbock's statement about Palestine and what she has to say. She's my foreign minister. She also is, supposed in a theoretical to represent me, like all other Germans. In foreign countries. I think she is, at least for me, if she is representing me, doing a bad job, but I'm curious to hear what she has to say.
Blinken said the killings were an unimaginable tragedy and that he was deeply sorry for the family's loss. The US top diplomat's Middle East tour continues on Monday with visits that include Israel and the occupied West Bank.
And the German foreign minister is also on it.
Okay, now it's getting interesting. Now let's hear. I'm curious. Are you as well? Then let's watch.
A trip to the Middle East. It's her 4th visit to the region since the October 7th attacks. Today she visited a Palestinian village in the West Bank. Here's what she had to say after the meeting with people there.
We know by listening to different Palestinians what it means that radical settlers are forcing people away from their home. But it makes a difference if you really speak to people who just lived here a few hundred meters away and now had to move with their 7 children because they cannot guarantee the security of their own family anymore, because radical settlers are attacking also their children. This is not only inhuman, this is illegal. Illegal under Israeli law, this is illegal under international law. And I want to make very clear as a German foreign...
But international law, okay, but I'm not sure if it is illegal under Israeli law. I mean, the Israeli government is supporting the settlers. The IDF is protecting the settlers. I mean, maybe it is technically illegal, and maybe some of the actions that the settlers are doing is illegal under Israeli law as well. But then the government of Israel is doing a piss bad job to enforce its own laws, if it would really wish to enforce these laws. I think even Smotrich and Ben Gvir themselves are settlers, two of the ministers of the current far-right government.
Minister from Germany that we are standing for the right of every Palestinian people to live freely and secure in their own house. And this is why we are calling on the Israeli government to not look away when radical settlers are threatening Palestinian people.
Okay, but they don't look away. They most, as far as I know, very often they don't look away and they support the settlers. Maybe it would be more effective to threaten Israel with something else than just words. But I mean, maybe you shouldn't speak out for. I mean, I'm not sure if you would speak out or someone else from the German government, but maybe it would be wise for the German government not to support Israel in the International Court of Justice, and just see what the court decides on the basis, hopefully, on the basis of the evidence presented by South Africa. I really hope that the judges will just take in consideration the evidences and then just make a judgment. And not to decide in a political way, but just based on the evidence. That's all I want for. That's all many people hope for. Justice. Accountability.
But to take up their obligation of protecting Palestinians living here on their own territory. And we are here because we want to underline.
I mean, I just recently, a moment ago, watched a video about it was a different video. I'm not sure where exactly. But it was about how the Israeli army removed its settlers 2005 and 2006, I think, from the Gaza Strip, and they were withdrawing officially from the Gaza Strip and enforced then the siege and so on and so on. You know the rest, but they had to really violently take away the settlers. With I mean, the IDF had to go there, and some of them carry out of the Gaza Strip because they didn't want to leave. And I'm not sure how many settlers lived in the Gaza Strip before the Israeli withdrew. I think 10, 15, 16,000 or so. But in the West Bank there are over 400,000 right now. So if there should ever be a left Israeli government in the future, hypothetically, and they would decide to withdraw from the West Bank and remove the settlers from the West Bank, they probably would have also probably would need to enforce this with force. So they would not leave the West Bank willingly. I think good luck with this. Future Israel, if you ever do this.
That a two-state solution, meaning that people can live freely and security and in dignity in Gaza and also in the West Jordan land, is of high importance in the West Bank, is of high importance for the future of both Israelis and Palestinians.
The German foreign minister speaking a short while ago. Tanya Kramer is standing by with a view from Jerusalem. So, you know, with the German foreign minister, we just heard her speaking there, visiting Palestinians.
Okay, this was the statement from Baerbock, and I have to say, yeah, theoretically, I probably agree with most of what she said, and I just wish that the German government would do more to enforce its will and its in a better way than just words. She's right with most of what she said. I don't think so much that this two-state solution is still possible, but if it would be possible, I would support it. I think it would be better at this point a one-state solution. One secular state, which with whatever name the people then decide, Israel, Palestine, whatever they want to name it, maybe even the Republic of Israel and Palestine, the Federation of Israel and Palestine, I'm not sure, but one state, a secular state, so it doesn't favor any religion, a right of return for the Palestinian people in diaspora, reparations to the Palestinian people who were evicted in 1948 and after it, and yes, equal rights and equal representations for all of the people in the entire land for everyone. This is of course a very far away future from now, but it would be best, I think. And maybe something in between would be possible, like a UN buffer zone between Palestinian state and Israeli state, and people can travel wherever they want, but they can have only political and a residence in one of the areas, like Palestinian in Palestine and Israeli in Israel. They could go to the other side, but they can only live and participate in political process in one of the sides.
In the West Bank remind us of the.
But at the end of the day, it's for the people from Gaza, Palestine, and Israel to decide this. Not just of course the Israeli who lives there, okay, but also all of the Palestinians which have been expelled, and the children and grandchildren should also participate in this political process, who then determines what to happen in this land. All of the people who lived there originally, and the Jewish population as well, should decide this. I think this would be the best way forward for peace in this region, which they all deserve, peace.
Biggest issues there at the moment. She specifically touched on settler violence and security.
Yeah, I think this was one of the biggest issues here, what we've been hearing this morning. But of course, the German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock was also holding talks with Palestinian officials in Ramallah. But she made a point in visiting a village in the occupied West Bank, a Palestinian village that is close to Israeli settlements there. And we could hear her, talking in length about the impact of settler violence by extremist Israeli settlers on Palestinians living there. She said that it's Israel's duty to protect them, and that also Palestinians have a right to live in peace and security in their area. She also, again, we heard it there, criticized settlement building, or the expansion of settlements, which is seen as illegal under international law by most of the international.
I mean, I have to say this here as well, but the nationhood law, which was, I think, passed and put into law 2017 and 2018 in Israel, sees the continuation of settlements as a national value, and says that only Jewish people have a right to, for political participation, and also now for self-determination. Only Jewish people have the right for this. And yeah, it is was criticized by many people, and it is still criticized by many people. And there's a good video about this. I can link it down below from GDF. It's called Amy Schumer, Israel is an apartheid state or so. I have a link in the description. You can check it out if you want. Talking to the Israelis about the settlements doesn't make really sense. in their own there's a law in Israel which sees the development of settlements as a national value. So they have to change the laws so they can enforce kind of their own laws, maybe, if there are really Israeli laws which prohibit settlements. I'm not sure about this. But yeah, it is really weird. And many things have to change in Israel as well, in the laws which discriminate Arabic people, and also the apartheid state has to end, the occupation has to end, and then we can maybe at some point in the future see a peaceful coexistence between Palestinians and Israeli. I would really love to see this and then visit the new country, however it is named, and talk to the people who live in peace, in harmony together.
Community. Now, this, of course, comes on the backdrop of more incidents that have been recorded since at least the beginning of the war, since October 7th, the terror attacks there in the occupied West Bank by extremist settler violence, by Israeli human rights organizations, and also by the United Nations. And that has resulted in injuries, property damage, and also displacement, especially among the herding and Bedouin communities in the occupied West Bank.
Tanya, how about the situation in Gaza? Because after meeting with Israeli officials yesterday, the German foreign minister also said that it was, and I'm quoting here, increasingly clear that the Israeli army must do more to protect civilians in Gaza. Then she called for a less intensive operation. How likely is the Israeli government likely to...
A less intensive operation in Gaza? I mean, how about a ceasefire? I say this also in the case of Ukraine. In the case of Gaza, it is much more important than in Ukraine. In Ukraine, there are two more or less equal armies, even if Russia is of course much bigger and has much more people and resources probably, but Ukraine has the support of the rest, so more or less they are equal. Gaza and Israel are not equal. It's like comparing a grown-up adult boxing champion to a child. But yeah, still a ceasefire would be the most important thing right now. And similar to Ukraine and Russia, after the ceasefire has been reached, they can talk. They can talk for years. They can debate. They can do everything and anything they want, as long as the weapons stay silent. And there could even be an international community. There could be like security guarantee. I mean states which guarantee the security for one side and the other side. Like there could be many different approaches to a ceasefire, and what to do after the ceasefire has been reached. There could be talks about the political solution. I heard even Hamas officials talking about this and mentioning that they are ready to negotiate with Israel. But anything would be better than fighting and murdering. So yeah. And I think it is counterproductive what Israel is doing, like bombing Gaza into the Stone Age, because the only thing I guess they will reach is to create more extremism and more terrorism in the future. In 10, 15, 20 years, they will have even worse attacks than this year, last year, October 7th, because you have created so many orphans, you murdered so many families, killing parents and children, so you create the terrorists for the future through this, and it is easily avoidable. But anyway, let's finish this video.
To listen to that call from Berlin.
Well, I think you have to see, Germany, I mean, she also reiterated, of course, that Germany is standing side by side with Israel and that Israel has the right to defend itself.
Yes, Israel has the right to defend itself, but what it is doing is not self-defense right now. Self-defense, in my opinion at least, was on the first few days or so, when they killed terrorists that entered Israel and were responsible for the massacres, murderous actions on October 7th. So, those people, they have been killed. This is self-defense. Granted. But anything they did after it, all the bombing in Gaza, is not self-defense. It's an offensive act of war against the people, innocent civilians, and mostly there are 2.3 million people in Gaza and 40,000 or 50,000 Hamas fighters. So it is terrorism, kind of, what Israel is doing there, and not a hunt for Hamas. But yeah, the self-defense claim is often used to justify this kind of atrocities Israel is committing.
Since the October 7th attacks. So that is, of course, what she said as well. But she also, and I think there we see a slight change also in what Germany is saying. That comes along what we also hear from the United States. And we've been hearing that the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, is also in the region, that more needs to be done to protect Palestinian civilians and to get more aid into Gaza. Now, what impact does that have? That is still to be seen. Germany has increased its humanitarian assistance, but of course, also as the United States, they have not called for a full ceasefire as of yet.
Tanya Kramer in Jerusalem, thank you.
I subscribed even if I didn't like much of this in the video. There were some interesting points, of course, but yeah, they should call for a ceasefire. It is the only humane thing to do. It also it supports Israel, so it is in the interest of Israel to have a ceasefire. There's no security bonus, no security increasement in bombing Gaza. You only create more terrorists for the future through killing and murdering thousands of families, wiping them off of the face of the earth. So, out of a perspective who only is interested in the security of Israel, you should call for a ceasefire. You make Israel more secure through this, through a political solution, a permanent political solution. Makes Israel the most secure anything else could ever be. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I think I'm right.